And looking in from the outside, it seems like you've got one of the toughest jobs in the Football League at the moment. So points deduction, obviously this season, unpaid wages, and you've given up your own wages, redundancy letters going out just before Christmas. How tough is it for you?
Well, it's not the ideal scenario, that's for sure.
No.
Yeah, it has been, unfortunately, from the very beginning, it has been really difficult for us to in the situation around the team, and obviously affected. We start the season with 9 professional players in the pre-season. 2 of them were injured and 2 of them were goalkeepers. So in a pretty difficult situation. But from that difficult situation, we just promote some of the young lads from the under 21, keep them working with us, having some difficult period in the pre-season, but also during the season. But as a product of that, I think we have a established team right now, very young, energetic, that know how to win football matches in any category. And that's the best part of it, to see all those boys and the team growing in terms of competitiveness and spirit. And unfortunately, I cannot control the things around. It has been a lot of surprises for us in terms of also in terms of transferring players or players inside, in terms of points deduction. And unfortunately, or fortunately, I think we learn how to cope with those things, and we learn how to manage the things almost hour by hour, day by day in the club. I think the situation is, the instability around us is big, but I think the group of players and the technical staff are doing their best just to keep the team in the league, to win football matches, and to create an environment where we can go through almost every situation.
Has it been something that actually galvanises the players and the staff, like we've seen at Everton with their points deduction? They say it's brought them together.
Well, I don't see it like an epic or like something that it happened like now we go everyone together against the wall. It's more about let's focus in our task. Let's focus in what we can do. I'm focusing coaching and supporting them. They are focused. Their focus is in themselves, how to take care of themselves, the food, the sleep, the recovery, the proper training, and it's more about let's take care of what it's very important for us. And on that, they have created some good relations between them, the environment and the training ground and the game day. It's extraordinary how to see the togetherness that they have created around them. But it has not been something special or epic, or it has been more let's do our job, let's do it proper, because it's the only thing we're going to get from that situation.
It must be hard when you get the surprises come in, though. So we carried the story last week about Andrew Sparks, the goalkeeper coach, and Eddie Niedzwiecki, head of development, have both been made redundant as part of cost cutting.
The main problem for us has been that the situation has not been settled from the very beginning. So because if we start the season and then we say we have this kind of budget, we need to just reduce the staff, because when you get a relegation and then you cut your budget, of course it's going to be this kind of situation. And we are going to modify some of the structures that we have on the club, like the restaurant, the food, the way we travel. We are going to have those points deduction, -4 that we have actually. Then you start the season and you have the picture to say, okay, we can work with this is what we need to do. But when it's coming, when you have a plan and it changes again, it makes it difficult. It makes it difficult because we are also losing coaches that have a specific area, and there is no replacement. So that means that the rest of the technical staff, we are going to get more workload, and we need to do it in a different way because our workload is already high. So it's difficult because you need to adapt and adjust every single time. But again, it's people working in the daily basics in the technical staff of the place. It's nothing that we can control. We just need to adjust. And it has not only been Andrew or Eddie. We lost some other people for different reasons, because some other clubs are paying attention in our situation. So it has not been difficult for teams just to make job proposals to members of our technical staff. And of course, they prefer some kind of security in a different environment. So that's the difficult part, because you are working with the unexpected situations almost every single day.
And we're in the January transfer window now. Do you know what the situation will be? Because I know you're under the transfer embargo, so you can't bring players in. But could you lose players, do you think?
Well, we are right now, the transfer embargo means for us that we cannot pay for a player, but we can bring loans or free transfer in our system as much as they fit in our limitation for the salaries. So we have the EFL has been very strict with us on that. With us on that, they have reduced it, sometimes our capability to get players in terms of wages, but we can get players. My priority is to don't lose players in this market. That's my priority, because I think we have young and energetic teams. We have almost double up the average of scouters that we have every single game from the last 3 seasons in the club. So now we have between 40 and 15 scouters, because we have players playing regularly in our lineup, 18, 19, 20 years old, that are attractive from some other clubs. So my priority is keep them together, because we have been in a period where we worked really hard with the team, that the things were not going exactly in our way, that we didn't get that point of now know how to win football matches. We lost a lot of points at the end, but we overcome the situation. We overcome those minus 10 points that we have from the staying in the league battle, and now we have an established group of players. So the last thing we need now is just to start the process again, because now the time is called for us. So I think we can start the process again in the pre-season next year, where we can, if we need, sell some players. But our priority now will be to keep them together. I don't know if that is going to be possible, but I will fight for it.
Have you had any reassurances about the playing squad?
No, I think obviously interest from some clubs are going on. We have some attractive players right now, and I know that we are in the situation that the club in the financial side is not stable. So I know if the proper offer comes from one of the boys, the club is going to let them go. But I don't have any specific offer or proposal from any of them, but I expect that some clubs will be interested from some of our boys.
And you had the situation in November when yourself and Mark Bowen, the director of football, actually forwent your wages. That can't have been something that you would have foreseen when you came into the club. What was that like?
No, we are not. I don't like to make that a big thing. So it's just a moment where the players got paid. There was no money to pay everyone in the technical staff, and I'm in the position that I can wait some days for my wages to be paid. So I don't need that to be first or the last day of the month. And just literally when it came, like it was, I think the greenkeeper or people around the club with different contracts, that my contract need that percentage more than me. So we spoke with Mark, and then we just tell the club that we can wait a little bit to get our money. We got the salary after 5-7 days, but it was more the proper thing to do in that moment. But say that I think when you are in a leading position, you need to make some decisions. And Simon Sinek said that leaders sit last, and I think is what you need to do in those situations. So it's nothing, for me, it's nothing special. I know people have been talking about it, but I think it's the proper thing to do, and I will expect that any other in my position to do the same.
And I suppose the strange thing is looking from the outside, like your training ground is fantastic. You've got the new training ground. The academy is excellent. It's always had a great reputation. So the building blocks are there, aren't they? The staff are very good, yourself included. So like you have got the building blocks there.
Yeah, but you can have an amazing house and then to have very cheap furniture or very old furniture. So I mean, yeah, we have the training ground is fantastic. The Category 1 academy is fantastic, from the people managing the academy to the players. The technical staff is good, but the stability needs to come also from the club. I think that's what we need right now for the future, because as you say, we have we have a very good platform, but we need to put that platform into a long-term plan that we know what we are building and how we are building it. Sometimes it's not about the building or about the facilities. Sometimes it's about how do you make it work together. So, and I think a lot of us, we will change our part of our facilities or part of the setup to be able to have a little bit of more stability in the financial side and have a better long-term plan, just to be more calm and stable in the daily routine. So I think don't misunderstand me, but I think the facilities, and this is the easiest way because it's just to build something. But the real thing on that is to build a culture inside the club to make people to feel safe and develop themselves. And I think that it's just difficult now in this situation.
Do you know anything about the ownership situation? What might happen there?
No. And I just decided some months ago to get myself out of that because it was causing me a lot of distraction from the football side and to pay attention into the players, games, stuff, trainings, analysis. So I decided to stop because it has been a lot of noise about that. I mean, myself, a couple of persons that were interested to buy the club, then it became nothing more than an instruction. So I just I speak with Mark Bowen and I just ask him, please, when it's something that is going to happen, just let me know. Otherwise, I don't want to know any minor detail on that because it's not going to change nothing on my daily basics. And the only thing it has been doing is just taking my time out.
And just a final question on Reading for the moment. Is the project very different than the one you were promised when you came into the club?
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. It is because not in the part of wanting to do a very young and energetic team. I think we got that. I think it's the way that we build that has been very, very different, and the stability around what we were promised.
Right, thank you. And flipping right back to the start of your career, I think a few things struck me, but one of the big ones was how young you were when you started coaching. So you coached your first team when you were 16, is that right?
Yeah, well, I'm from a neighborhood in Valencia called Marchalenes, and I started to play for a small team there called Parreta, actually. And there was some kind of trend that when you become 16 in the club, you start to coach the young ones. And I did it together with my friend. It was not the best season, but that's when I started. I played when I was 16, of course, and then at the same time, I stand there and coach the small ones. And that was the first approach I have with coaching. And from that, I have great experiences. It was after that first year, it took for me 2 to 3 years to come back again to coach. But that was the first moment, and I remember that period like things that I don't need to do anymore or how to not do things. But it was, I think it's kind of realization when you are around 16, like maybe I don't have the attributes to be a professional player, but I want to be as close as possible to that grass, to the green, to that feeling. So that was my first experience, and I remember it with a lot of love, and also for the players and the people that was around me.
And that's very interesting about starting so young, because we've had Rennie Meulenstein on the podcast and Pep Linders, both from Holland, and they also started at about that age. And I don't think that really happens in England. So do you think that's a big help to start so young?
Well, I don't know. I don't have the answer. What I really know is that playing and coaching just help you to understand the game better. So when you are preparing a training session for the small one, and at that time in Spain we play with the under 12, we play football 7, and then they jump to football 11 when they were 1 year old. That I was working with a group of age to start to analyze from a different point of view. How do you train things? Which kind of style do you want to play? Which kind of players do you have? What do they need to in this part of the process? I think it's important because it just gives to you a different perspective of things. Also help you when you play, because you start to understand better the situations that you are in, and you start to analyze your coaches also, how they are doing things. So I think it's important. My son, he's 10 years old, and he likes playing, but he also likes coaching and analyzing situations right now, because he sees me every day. So I think it's important the younger you start, not only in the coaching, in everything that you want to do, the most opportunity you have to learn more things, because the period, especially when you are in that age between 12 and 18, you are a great learner on that thing. So I think it's important, but sometimes, like in my case, it's casual. Just the environment just drag you in that. Sometimes you don't have the fortune to be in that, and then you start a little bit later. But the sooner the better.
Has that helped Spanish players to be very tactically aware, do you think, the fact they do that coaching at young ages?
Well, I don't know if everyone do it. I think the Spanish academies and the setup is just very professional from the players that they are under 7, under 8. Also, the system that we have for the coaches and for the license is a very unique system, because in Spain it's a public system. It's not like in England. It's not like in other places, like in Denmark, for example, that is difficult to get in the system to get your B license, A license, Pro license. In Spain, it's public system, because and some years ago, like 10, 12 years ago, people just decided to go and make that complaint to the European Union. So in Spain, there is private academies and public academies for coaching. That makes also that the quality of coaching is better. So it's not anymore the parents or people that, so it's people that even in academies that are not professional are specialized in coaching young talented players. And I think that system also helps the players, because if you see a training in some small clubs in Spain, you will see a very organized training with very clear concepts, players actually buying it. So I think the system in Spain is different. I think that's why it helps also the players to arrive into the age of 16, 17, 18 with a very good knowledge and platform to become a professional player.
I think you can also get your badges, can't you, at much younger ages in Spain? Because I'd speak to Carlos Cuesta. I think he had his pro license at 24, 25, which I don't think you can do.
I also got mine when I was 25.
Oh, did you? Right.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, well, I have a different approach on that, because I'm bachelor in physical science and sport, and in the time that I finish, because I make my specialization in football. Actually, you can make the UEFA B and the UEFA A in combination with with the career, because some of the themes and topics were the same, and it was just the UEFA Pro where we need to spend more time there. So yeah, because the system is public. So right now, it's just like you want to study another different profession, or in the university, or in the professional side. So that's why you can get it younger.
Okay, and you think that's beneficial to be able to say, get your pro license at 24 like you did?
I think it's beneficial because it's democratic. It opened the football for everyone. So everyone that has the dream to be a coach and put an effort, they can just go to the academy, public system, private system. They can just attend to the classes. They can just do that, and then makes that they open more opportunities. So that makes that everyone can do it. You don't need to be a former football player. You don't need to be a base before of that. So you just, if you wanna coach, you just go there, make the examination from the very beginning, start with the basic course, and then you grow on that, and then you find your opportunity. And that makes that we have some UEFA Pro coaches leading under 16, under 18 teams, but this also makes the powerful market for the Spanish coaches, because the competition between us, and it's not reduced into a number of persons. It's just basically open to almost everyone who has the ability and the willingness to want to coach. I think that makes you better, because the market is bigger than in any other place in the world.
And the other big thing I noticed about the start of your career was the amount you travelled, which was unbelievable. I probably missed some countries out, but Russia, Azerbaijan, Norway, Denmark, obviously Spain, and then England. So that seemed quite incredible at such a young age to be willing to go to so many countries.
We started in Greece.
We started
in Greece in 2008. I think it can sound crazy, but I live in Valencia since I was born until I was 25 actually, and I moved out when I got the first call from Aris Thessaloniki. So I will not say that it was never in my plan to work abroad, but it was also not expected to do it in that way. I think life comes in some different formats, and in that moment when Aris Thessaloniki came with Kike Hernandez leading the project and David Rodri and Xavi Tamarit as a technical staff, it was a project when they find a very specific profile just to support the team in different areas, and I gave the profile and they contacted me, and it was like a game changer for me. It was a life moment where we have also a situation with my girlfriend at the moment, my wife now, that she was pregnant, so it was a kind of a difficult decision. But that decision to go to Aris Thessaloniki and to have that year there, also a very difficult year, personal and professional, just open what it was not the Spanish coaches. Rafa Benitez already open for us in the England side, but it was not much open for the Spanish coaches. And it was the moment when Spain won the Euro and the Spanish football got that international well-known name. And from that moment, I think I just got the people thought when they thought about bringing somebody in technical staff or a coach or a member of technical staff, that because I did that movement to Greece, I will cope with the new environments really well, and that also gave me some new experiences after. So I think it was that first moment that just opened my career in my international career.
Yeah. So does that enable you to learn a lot and also to progress your career by going abroad?
Exactly. I think first of all, languages are important. So my English was not really well when I started in Greece, but it was enough. We had a good experience actually. We also tried to learn some Greek. You learn to cope with different cultures. You need to learn. You need to live in different environments. Also in your personal situation, living alone, living with the family. Some basic formats like going out and then find a house, find a car, find a supermarket. It's just completely different, but it's also actually open for me the international football. That means that from that moment I knew that I can work in Greece, I can work in Spain, but I can work in any other country in the world where they were interested in having me. So I think it was a decision to make in that moment. I think we made the correct decision, and until now it has been a good journey.
Because this is something that's levelled at English coaches, that maybe they don't move abroad enough and they stay in the UK too much.
Well, I think that's quite a statement. I think the English coaches are as well prepared as any other coaches in the world. I think sometimes it's just about having that first experience. But I already spoke with some of them that work in Belgium, in Spain, and in other countries. So I think the language barrier is over right now, and not only the English coaches. I think the world just became one, and the market just become one, and you can expect that for sure more English coaches going abroad from now into the future.
And we got to know you when you moved to Southampton, I think 2022, and I was talking to Matt Crocker, who was the director of football at the time. He was telling me that Rasmus Ankersen, who'd come in with the new owners, Sport Republic, had been tracking you for a long time because he'd heard what a good coach you were. He'd heard of you in Denmark, where you were with FC Copenhagen. And Matt was saying about the meeting he had with you in London. He said, I was blown away by his knowledge, experience and adaptability. So I wonder if you could just talk about that meeting and that transfer.
Yeah, I think Matt became a really good friend and a really big support for me in Southampton in my entire time there. So thank you for your words. The situation was like some years ago. I moved from Karabakh in Denmark in a team AGF Aarhus. One of the great decisions that I have made, because we had a fantastic project in Karabakh, but I want to be a coach and a manager in the future, and I thought that was a big movement. From my movement in Denmark and the work in AGF, in some point in my time in AGF, Rasmus contacted me because they have some vacancies in their system finally we didn't make it, but we keep our football relation for the years after. And then when I was in Copenhagen, my second year, it was a successful year. We turned the team around. They just contacted me that they were opening a process for new technical staff in Southampton, if I was interested to make the interviews and go start the process. And of course, when a club like Southampton call you and with the Premier League experience and a coach like Hasenhuttl in front, I started with the process with them, and the interview in London with Matt Crocker, it was nothing more and nothing less than two football persons talking about football and experiences. And I'm 40 years old now, but in the time I was 38, but I have been already 13 years in football in some different countries. So I will not say it was quite easy, but when you talk about the topic that you have been working for that amount of time in your life and the experiences that you had in different countries with a person that completely understands you, have the empathy with a lot of things, and we are talking the same language, is always easy.
And normally the manager brings his own assistant, so this was very unusual that an assistant would be brought in. Was that difficult?
Well, as I understood in that process, the first Matt was in charge. So they have some candidates, of course. Matt was in charge to make the first filter, and then of course the next interview was with Ralph. And then with Ralph we had the Zoom interview when we spent, I think it was 3 hours talking about systems, methodology, training, games, comparing what has been his career and his way to coach with my career and the different teams when I worked. So I didn't know the reasons about why they changed, and it was not in my interest because I think the coaches working before me in Southampton, they were doing a good job, but it was not for me to analyze that. It was more about a club starting a new process, and I think the process was right. Meeting with the sports director and with the manager, and it was not for me to comment to analyze. For me, it was just an opportunity to go and work with what I think is one of the best coaches in the world.
And did that work well pretty quickly for you?
Yeah, I think with Ralph from the very beginning, we connected together. Of course, we were not agreed in the 100% of our points of view, but that's what you need to have a little bit different. But especially the view that Ralph has about football with the high pressing, being dominant against the ball, the 4-2 as a main system. I think we pretty quickly connect on that. And then from the very beginning, he gave me a lot of freedom to manage the daily basics of the team. And I was very comfortable working with him.
So how would it actually work within the training sessions? Would you lead the main session on the Friday before the Saturday game? How would that work?
No. I think what I created there, it was an organization for Ralph to don't take the daily basic trainings, and together with Richard, who was the other assistant coach, and Carl Martin, so we create the structure in the day for Ralph just to step in, get the information, check the trainings with certain distance and step really when it was important. And then, of course, he was leading all the tactical aspects and the -1 training. So that never changed. It was just for me, as I understood the job with Ralph, it was just to take the lead in the daily organization for him to have more freedom to watch the team from a different perspective, and then make his stamp in the moments that it was important to do. So I think that it was how it should work for a good manager in England.
And it always seemed a very innovative club to me. So you had the Southampton Playbook, which was interesting, the kind of style of play for the whole club. You had the individual coaches. I think Carl Martin was he an in-possession coach mainly? Yes. It was all quite innovative and interesting, I thought.
Yeah, I think Matt Crocker did it in the FA and also in Southampton. He has a very clear idea of how a technical staff should be, with everyone working as a unit, but everyone having different competences. So in that structure, let's say we have a Ralph who was leading the process. We have Richard, who was the assistant manager, who was leading in terms of tactics and support to Ralph. You have myself, who was leading the organization for the daily basics and supporting the teams against the ball. We had in that moment Carl Martin working in possession, and then we have Alex Clapham working with the set plays. And that was the setup. I don't know if it's innovative. I know it's a very organized setup. But again, from that setup, you need to find the synergies and the moments where you can give your input, and then you can give your information, and then it's at the end of the day, it's for Ralph to make a decision. And I think it worked in the time that we were together.
Mm. Have you taken some of that now, that individual approach and the specializations?
Of course, I took a lot from that organization, and even in Southampton when I need to take the team for the last part of the season. Also Reading in a different way because the resources are a little bit different, but yeah, absolutely. I think establish some roles in the beginning of the season just help you to arrive into every single detail of football, individual or in terms of game plan. And I think people knowing exactly what you expect from them also helps them to make a better work because they feel that you trust them. So absolutely that kind of model, I took a big part of it.
And then fairly soon you were in charge. So I think you had one game before Nathan Jones came in after Ralph, and then you actually from November you were in charge to the end of the season. So what was that like?
It's never pleasant when you need to replace a coach like we have with Ralph that trusts you to come into the organization, and you need to replace him because it's not only Ralph who didn't make his job proper. When you are failing, it's just the entire club failing. And that was a difficult period. And at the same time, in that short period of time, because Ralph was out on a Sunday and we had the game on a Wednesday, you need to be sure that the team is competitive and people keep their standards and do their proper job, players and technical staff, because it was a lot of staff that also very attached to Ralph, what is normal. So it's a little bit difficult, the feeling there, because you know if you don't step forward in that moment, you probably will not be competitive for the next game, and the team will continue going into a direction that we don't want. So it was pretty challenging. It was pretty difficult to say to Ralph and Richard goodbye, and then go into the pitch and then try to get the team ready for the game. I think we managed quite well the situation. We managed, even we draw at home, we managed to go through in the penalties to the next round. Also was important to keep players fresh because in 3 days we play Liverpool away, and we were told already the day before the game. I was told that probably will be a new manager coming for the Liverpool game. So it was a difficult period, but at the same time it was a period when you know that you are in charge, you need to make things happen and you need to make decisions from the very beginning. That was the first bit of management that I had, and I think we managed quite well due to the circumstances. And when Nathan came, we just give him the team to start with his process.
Was it a huge step up for you as a manager and a big change from what you'd been used to before?
Yes, absolutely. I think it's a completely different role because you come from supporting somebody, creating situations and spaces for somebody to make a decision, to actually making the decision and not being able to spend that much time to analyze the situations because you need to make decision after decision after decision. That's the big change of it. And yeah, I think those 3 days, it was not difficult because when you have a team for, like I had that intern experience for 3 days, it's just about making quick decisions, and you don't expect to be there for longer, and now I expect that you are going to be there for longer, so you just go through this period and you don't have the experience of having players 3-4 games out of the team, so it's just about let's go through this game and then let's see what happens after. It's a completely different experience from my second experience on that.
And do you suddenly have to become a big figurehead for the club? So you're doing a lot of the media work, you're talking to all the staff, you're creating the philosophy, aren't you, and the vision, I guess?
Yeah, again, I will say that it's two separate moments. The first moment when we took the team after the Newcastle defeat, It was only for 3 days, and then the second one was in February, when we took the team straight after the transfer window closed, and we had that first game against Chelsea, and then the club decided to go with us until the end of the season. I think the first 3 days when we had the Sheffield Wednesday in the Carabao Cup, it was more about let's do the proper job for the 3 days because we know it's not gonna endure in time. The second one was a little bit different because in the very beginning, the first couple of days, the club was looking for a coach, and we were told like that we probably have only one game. But then the circumstances changed, and then we were told that we can be there until the end of the season. And that is when everything changed, because now it's not temporary. Now it's not for 3 days or for a week. Now it's actually you needing to lead every single situation. And of course it's difficult, and of course it's much different. But I think it's 24/7, especially for me in that moment, when you are facing the most competitive league in the world, with the most, not difficult, but the bigger environment in terms of media, fans, and the league that most people view every single day in the world. And that requires a big amount of energy in the daily basics for you, because basically you cannot make any mistake when you communicate. And the situations for us in the club were exceptional also. So it was a big learning for me.
And we've had a few managers, including yourself, on the podcast, and something that really strikes me is how all-consuming it is, as you say, that you can never switch off. So did you have to go home and kind of warn your wife things are going to change? It's going to be 24/7 now.
Well, I'm very lucky on that, because I have a family that supports me in everything, and my wife has been very supportive with me from the very beginning, and the kids were suffering also that situation, because it's not only the staff that you have at home, because I'm the kind of coach that I leave my home at 6 o'clock in the morning and I come back at 7:30, 8 o'clock in the evening. So I try to spend time of quality with them if that thing exists. But she was the one that in the very beginning, she told me, do your business, we will be fine, we will be here to support you. And in that part was very not positive, because we have been navigating together for 15 years that kind of situations, but it was like, now is our opportunity, and we see the opportunity like ours, not like my opportunity. So we see it as a team, and our kids see it also, and sometimes it's not easy for them, because all of a sudden they also became target in the school, because I was the manager of the team in the city, and when you win a game, it's good, everything is fantastic. But when you don't win a game or you lose, then it's not pleasant for them, and the kids can be a little bit hard to each other in those ages. But my family was very supportive, and we know what it is to live in football, and we know what it is to the things in the football and around football. So, but we knew also the best way to do it is just to be together. So it was not difficult in that sense. It was difficult in the dimension of it.
Right. Yeah. What do you mean? The fact it got so big suddenly?
Yeah, it's the worldwide.
Yeah.
When you are in the Premier League, it's a worldwide. And then when you are making a press conference, and you are my wife was in the gym at 12 or 1 o'clock, and then every TV is just showing your press conference. It's just changed your life, you want it or not. I don't think it changed our life in the way that we are, on the way that we act, but it just changed the repercussion that you have in the world, and people communicating with you, people recognizing you from the moment that you go to drink a coffee, or for when you go to pick up your kid from the school. So actually, we felt that also in the social media, for the good and for the bad, and you just need to learn how to cope with that. And I've been using psychologists my entire life, and I use it as psychologist that in that period, and we also get some support for Anna and the kids, because it's really an experience, and you need support to manage it in the proper way.
Yeah, I suppose people don't really think about that, do they? The impact on their families.
Well, I don't know if people do it, but I know it from before with some other people working with me and coaches that I work with them, that this situation is just difficult, because if the things are going well and you are winning matches, then it's good, because when people recognize you in the street or with the friends of your kid, or people just have only good words for you. But when the things are not going that well, sometimes it become ugly, also for them. So, and for Anna, for my wife, and for me, it was critical that we keep an eye on the kids and we bring them the support that they need. And we did it. I got a Christian, there's a psychologist that worked at, a mental coach psychologist that worked for us in Copenhagen. I wrote him for the last couple of months in Southampton for the club, but also for me. And until today, I'm working with another psychologist in Spain that helps me to go through those things. And we also try to get some advice for the kids. So I think it's important. And I think for all the situations in life, and I consider these situations as a manager in Premier League like extreme situations. And I know some of the other managers also use the systems. LMA also with Jen as a head of psychology also help us a lot. I have Jen visiting me like a couple of months ago to see if everything was going well with the kids, and also so I think you cannot do things alone in the world of football, and everyone needs a good team around, especially managers. We need the teams around us to take care of a lot of things, and the mental health is very important.
Yeah. And I suppose there's a good reason why managers don't tend to do Twitter and social media, because I think Michael Beale was the only one I knew who was doing it, and then he's left because like the abuse you can get. You're so high profile, aren't you? So in the spotlight.
Yeah, I think you have different versions of the kind of how do you manage that. I think you have the version of getting somebody to work with your social media because you still want to be able to communicate things, to be able to post things, to be able to like it. Or I decided to stop communicating and giving my opinion, or even opening because if you need to get any information from anybody, you get from the people around you. But most of the time, it can be consuming for you if you also open the media, because the opinion of somebody far away who has no idea, just a bad word, it's not that you are not human, it's just it can change your sense of your mode in the day, and you don't need that distraction. So it's strange because my wife actually is a specialist she's a specialist in the social media. She has her own profile with her sister and her own business in the social media. But I decided to completely stop that, because I think especially in the Premier League, your exposure is huge. You have the press conference the day before the game for 30, 40, 50 minutes. You have the individuals interview for TV almost every month, the media day. You have the post-match interviews. You have requests every week, media in Spain, Denmark, even in England, that you need to manage. So you end up every week, especially you have 2 games per week, you end up talking a lot. So it arrives to a point that sometimes you don't have nothing more to say than what you actually say. So risking something in the social media to make a post for the fans like thank you for coming, today was not our day, something, they already know it. You don't need to, especially when you don't feel it, or when you already say the message, you don't need to repeat your message 3 times. And I find the social media, especially for my case as a manager and as a coach, as a platform to repeat a message that I already said. So I don't find it useful right now.
It can become a little bit like being on a hamster wheel, it seems to me. You don't ever have time to breathe and think and explain things in depth, which is why this is nice to go into a bit more depth. You know?
Yeah, absolutely. But I think we have the platform today with you that you can ask and I can explain it to you. But I will consider social media, but it's at the end of the day, it's a media. It's a conversation between you and me when I can explain it. I don't need to go to Twitter and make a line of 10 Twitters explaining my philosophy or why I do things. We will have the platform now, so I will take that space to explain what I feel, how I feel, what is my philosophy, what is my life experience. I don't think I need to go then individually and repeat that. Right now, this is my mind. Maybe when the months or the experiences will come, I will just change it, the dimension, and think, okay, it's important for me to do it because of reasons that right now I don't think are there for me. But right now I feel it like that, and I have enough exposure with the media things that I do, even Reading now in the League One, that I don't need those platforms to create any more content.
And going back to the end of that time at Southampton, could you have stayed on at the club potentially, despite Russell coming in?
I was not interested. I think we got the team against Chelsea, and we were clear of what we wanted. Again, a transition period where Nathan and their staff is out. The club became waiting for the third coach of the season. The instability is all over the place. We finished 7, 8, 9 days before the transfer window. So it was a moment where even the club was looking for a manager with experience in the Premier League. So we knew we have a short period of time, but we also knew that if we had the chance, we want to go Stamford Bridge and make our stamp. And we knew that for that moment, we need something that the players can recognize, that something that they can recognize and was easy to adapt and adjust. And we thought that they didn't still have this pressing gene in the depth of it with the 4-2-2-2, and we thought we can go to Stamford Bridge and win that game. And we thought if we go there and win that game, we may change the rest of the season for the club, because the club was really bad. Everyone was giving us for relegated, and it was February. So that's what we did. And in one point after that game, my conversation with the club, of course, I just kind of all or nothing conversation, like either I have 3 more years in my contract, so I can easily say I will do the job and then I will stay here for whatever happens in the future. But I really want to do it properly. It was all or nothing, and I told to the club, okay, if you want me as a coach until the end of the season, we will just make a new agreement, but my agreement is going to be until the end of the season. Even if the club stay in the Premier League, I didn't have a clause automatical renewal for that. So then the club was not just attached to me in that sense. So it was all or nothing decision for me. And I didn't even think about being in anybody else technical staff, because I wanted to try myself, and it was not an option for me, and I think at the end it was not an option for Southampton either.
So there was that point in February, was it, where you both decided that end of the season you would go your separate ways?
No, we decided to go together until the end of the season, right, and see what happened.
Oh, okay, right.
But it also, in that decision, the club was not attached to me as a manager, whatever was the end of the season. Right, was the relegation or staying in the Premier League, we can decide together at the end of the season. Because I think we were judged by the end result and by a club that want to change things around more than the performances. Actually, we didn't win enough football matches, and we know it, but it was a quite unique situation for us getting that team.
And I think your stock was still high at the end of that period. So did you get quite a few offers for managerial jobs?
Well, I got some interviews from a couple of interviews in England, but also from abroad, one team from the MLS. But the only club that really came strong was Reading.
Right, okay. And what appealed to you about that project when you had those conversations?
With Reading or with the rest?
With Reading.
With Reading, we know the situation of the club, but in the very beginning we see the evidence that we got, it was the difficult times were over, and that we can move forward into a project to have a big budget and come back straight into, or fight to come back straight into the championship. And that project with the 3 years spell, just for us to work with the necessity for the club to go with a young, energetic team, can compete, attracting young, talented players, and I think that's kind of where it's one of my strengths, just to give that confidence for those young players. I thought it was a good opportunity. Also, as you said before, with the facilities that we have, with the surroundings of the club, with the fan base. And we thought that with the evidence that we got in the beginning, we thought that the difficult times were over for the club, and we have a new period where we can be successful. That's what was attractive for us, and that's why we decided to come to Reading. Unfortunately, the situation changed pretty quick.
And how would you describe your playing philosophy? Because we talked about all the different experiences you've had, different countries, different managers you've worked with. What's your own playing philosophy if you had to sum it up for someone who didn't know?
Absolutely. So also based on the evidence that we have right now in the League One with the team, or with the evidence that we have with that second part of the season with Southampton. What we try to be is a very energetic team that is a team based in high pressure. So we try to do it in the Premier League, we try to do it in the League One. We are the team with the smallest PPDA in the league, so that pressures per defensive passes per defensive action, where we try to be protagonists, having situations where we can press and force the opposition to find the spaces that where we can win the ball back and exploit the spaces in transition, and being a team that is good in possession, but that try to find the quick triggers to attack. So we try to have those games where we are very intense, and we try to be very front-footed. So that is the main part of the philosophy. We started with the system 4-2-2 in Southampton and in Reading. We also make the change in Reading in the 4-1-4-1 or 4-3-3, trying to keep the same concepts and principles, but adjusting a little bit into the players that we have and the league that we play on. But that's the line. We don't believe that being passive or being just waiting and expecting the opposition in possession that creates something, or being in a low block is the solution. Sometimes, especially when you play against the big teams, like for example the game that we have against Arsenal, because of their quality, they just push you there. But we try to win the ball as high as possible to make quick counterattacks. And then in terms of in possession, we try to be a team that can play in possession using the dice 4 or the build up 2+3, but with the topic of having quick attacks and trying to find the ball as quick as possible into the pockets or in the wide channels to go deep and attack those spaces with the speed and quality, and being a team that is very hard when we make the counter pressure. So for that we need the team compact. So that is the main philosophy.
Yeah. Have you got any specific training sessions that you put on to encourage that and practice that? Because Pep Linders was talking about the counter-pressing rondo they do at Liverpool. Yeah. So I was just wondering, anything like that?
Absolutely. I think we don't have only one. Our training methodology, it's not the same, but it's similar of what Pep and Jurgen are doing in Liverpool, because we actually came from the same base of Ralph Hasenhuttl. It has had some kind of the same. And that was great for me to meet Ralph, because I closed the style that I want to play with that high pressure. And then I think your playing style is linked with your training style. So if you see one of our sessions now in Reading, in that moment in Southampton, we start always with a warm-up that end up with a passing drill, trying to get some synergies between players, but also trying to work in some specific situations, second man, third man situation. And then we try to put every time a different counter-pressure drill. It can be a counter-pressure rondo, it can be a counter-pressure possession if that different exists, it can be a counter-pressure game, but always encouraging in every training, at least one drill need to have that concept for the counter-press, and then going or moving forward, working in the different aspects of the game. But counter-press is always there, because it just gives to you the offensive-defensive change, or the defensive-offensive change and you work in the game as global, not as a separated moments of the game. And for us, it's important to get advantage of these transitions.
Fantastic. And I think a big thing in the game now is developing players. So that's become a bigger and bigger focus for clubs and for managers. So they want managers who can develop players, particularly young players. And that's something that you've shown you can do again.
Well, I've been lucky. I worked with a lot of young, talented players in my coaching career. If we take the last 5 years, for example, I worked with some of the young, talented players with Jakob Nestrup and Jes Torup in Copenhagen. Some of them are playing now for the first team. Did a really good job under Jakob in the Champions League, getting Manchester United out of that group stage. And when we came to Southampton, the project was similar, developing players like Romeo Lavia or Tino Livramento. Even Tino was a big part of the season out, or Gavin Bassoon was a goalkeeper who has an exceptional potential. Now in Reading, it has been more due to the circumstances than, but we knew that we wanted this young and energetic team. And it's something that I find very pleasant when you trust some of the young, talented players. You help them in their game, you help them in the individual session, in the video analysis, and you see them going from one stage in their career, moving a little bit forward. There is always a setback for them, so it's not a linear improvement. There is always a moment where they lose the track, but they come back stronger. And accepting those periods on them, I just find this fascinating because as I told you, I've been lucky to work with a lot of young, talented players. And two examples are Romeo Lavia, who's now currently in Chelsea, and he has also his ups and downs with us in Southampton. But he became a really powerful midfielder for the Premier League. And I also worked with a young, talented Rasmus Højlund in Copenhagen, he needed to find his way out of Copenhagen to the Austrian league, for a league that it was his kind of game, with a lot of transitional game, where he became a monster. And from that period in Austria, he became a super player, and now he's in Manchester United. So sometimes I find fascinating that part of our game. How can we develop individuals in a collective game, and how you can make in your methodology, in a training drill for everyone, give the individual part of it for the player to become better. And I also have the philosophy that the young players, when you give them the opportunity, they have that 10% extra because they are attached personally on you, and they will go to places that maybe some other players will not go for you. And that relation between coach-player also become really powerful.
Yeah, that's very interesting with those two particular players that you were talking about. So Rasmus Højlund, he's really in the spotlight now, isn't he? It's such a huge club. How good can he become, do you think?
Well, I think Rasmus is a learner. He learns a lot from their environment. From the time he stepped into the first team in FC Copenhagen, he didn't have enough playing time, and he found him and his environment. They found a league like the Austrian league. We talked about the PPDA before. It's the league with the lowest average of PPDA, so that means it's a league of high pressure and high transition moments. And that was his game in that time. So immediately when he went there, he became a key player for his team, score goals, win balls really high, intense, and that gave him the confidence to go into the next level. So that was, I think, in 6 months he makes his move to Atalanta, with Premier League clubs having him in their agenda. He went there, another team that likes to play that kind of high pressure football, going in the front footed, playing forward quick. He learned a lot from that Serie A experience, and now in the Manchester United, he's also getting in that level. He already made it into the Danish national team. So I think with Rasmus, you can expect him to be rated in one of the best strikers in the world. But I think he will become that when the United team will become more established at the moment that is right now. So with everything, as I told you, every development for a young player has moments where they have this setback and then come back again. I think he's in a really good moment. I think he already scored that goal that was just breaking that barrier for him in the Premier League. And I think you can only expect better things from him in the Manchester United.
Because it must be very hard for him. Every miss is all over social media, the papers, it's talked about. But he's got the mentality, has he, that he can deal with that?
He's a mentality monster. He developed a mentality monster. He has a good family that take care of him. His 2 brothers are playing for FC Copenhagen, actually for the first team right now. One of them was even in the squad when they played there. under his environment is really strong, and he's a really strong character. And you don't have quite often that young talented player that when we had him in Copenhagen with that kind of mentality. And yeah, it's Premier League is the exposure is the biggest in the world. And when he has a miss, everyone is just talking about it, but it's just part of the process. And he will become a better player, and he will become more stronger in his mind through this process. He has been brilliant in all the other competitions. He has been brilliant for United. I think it's a matter of time that he's gonna connect that with the fans. And once he will make this crack, he's gonna be unbelievable.
Brilliant. And the time's absolutely flown by. Just a final one. What are your own ambitions for your career, and what are your ambitions for the rest of this season?
Well, my ambition for the rest of the season is just to keep a team together that can perform and can stay in the League One and continue developing players. That is the ambition for this season. My ambition for my own career from my world start is just to go to the very top, in the managerial position, before as assistant coach. But I had always have the ambition to be a manager in the big leagues and playing against the big ones. I got it. I got a bit of it last season, but now I need to earn the right to go there and stay there for longer. So step by step, to working day by day, but I'm ambitious as anyone, just to try to get back on that kind of game and try to be the very best.
Well, good luck, and thank you so much for your time.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.